Hi everyone! Welcome to the second chapter of this STS course. I am Ian de la Cruz and this is the first part of this chapter, the scientific revolution. And to give you a head start of this topic, please watch and enjoy this short video.
During these times, scientific authority began to displace religious authority, and several disciplines considered as legitimate at that time, such as alchemy and astrology, lost scientific credibility. The scientific revolution laid the foundations for the Age of Enlightenment. By the power of seafarers and circumnavigation, lands that were previously unknown to Europe were discovered. Also, the invention of printing machines brought the proliferation of new information across the different regions of the Old World. While the dates of the scientific revolution are disputed, the Copernican theory of heliocentrism marks the beginning of scientific revolution. Nicolaus Copernicus argued that indeed the Earth, the stars, and other planetary bodies revolve around the Sun, contrary to the widely accepted geocentric system at that time. Johannes Kepler has then continued the theory and developed the laws of planetary motion. One of these laws showed that the planets revolve around the Sun in elliptical orbits instead of circular. Galileo Galilei came after and developed his own telescope with enough magnification to allow him study the planet Venus and the phases of the Moon. Galileo's findings threatened the religious leaders because they went against the church teachings and authority. Later on, Galileo stood before the court and knelt before the cardinals under the threat of torture. During the scientific revolution, the value of evidence through experimental method led towards a scientific methodology in which empiricism has played a huge role. One pioneering founder of empiricism is Francis Bacon, described as the empiricist, and established the inductive methodologies, or simply called as the scientific method. On the other hand, another founder described as the rationalist is René Descartes, whom distinguished between the knowledge that could be attained by reason alone, such as mathematics, and the knowledge that required experience of the world, like physics. Under the scientific method, both natural and artificial circumstances were abandoned, and the research tradition of systematic experimentation was slowly accepted throughout the scientific community. These were body of techniques for investigating phenomena through acquiring new knowledge or correcting and integrating previous knowledge, systematic observation, measurement, formulation, testing, and modification of hypotheses, an application of empirical or measurable evidence subject to specific principles of reasoning to attain a strong and concrete answer. Now going back to the revolutionary views of Copernicus, Kepler, and Galileo, Isaac Newton brought together their breakthroughs under a single theory of motion. Newton has also formulated the universal gravitation, which dominated almost all the scientists' view of the physical universe, including the principles that account for the trajectories of comets, tides, and precessions of the equinoxes. Newton's key figure during the scientific revolution made himself acknowledge the works of previous great minds before him. Since then, scientific revolution went viral to various fields and disciplines, including the first observation of bacteria and protists with a microscope by Anton van Leeuwenhoek, the groundbreaking work carried out by William Harvey on the detailed analysis of the heart and blood circulation, the pioneering experiments on the physical properties of gases by the founder of modern chemistry, Robert Boyle, and Charles Darwin, a naturalist who publicly announced his revolutionary theory of evolution through his expeditions around the world. One of Darwin's breakthrough observations explaining the similarities of organisms is brought by the principle that species evolved from common ancestors. He also posited the process of natural selection in which stronger species may adapt successfully against the changing requirement of the environment. His famous book on the origin of species created a worldwide uproar and intense debate everywhere, stating the concept of man evolving from the common ancestors along with apes and monkeys was unacceptable due to the deep religious belief that man was created by God. Eventually, further scientific investigations and evidences from DNA technology decades later proved that Darwin's theory of evolution was based in fact.
And that's it, the enlightenment by science and through science that has shaped our society today. Thank you, and I'll see you in a while. Welcome back, and here's the second part of this chapter, the waves of technology. Again, please enjoy this video.
The term wave of technology is described as the succession in change of human civilization across history. These waves, which are referred as the era of change, is also characterized by the use of tools and machines that help mankind flourish the earth. Eventually, these mere tools became technology, which is now a driving force for social change. These waves of change were built on the foundation of knowledge revolution, since knowledge itself became a powerful tool in molding the course of civilizations. The first wave is agricultural revolution. Most historians have labeled the agricultural revolution as the transition period between hunters and gatherers into stationary farmers. Human settlements have now learned how to domesticate both plants such as corn and practice crop rotation as an efficient way of utilizing farmlands, as well as tame wild animals such as wild cattle and wild boars. Because of successful domestication, food was readily available to everyone, which has led to population growth and demand of larger settlements, leading to problems of waste disposal and proper sanitation. Consequently, land has now become the basis of several criteria of both personal and social implications, such as the status of an economy, lifestyle conditions, and even the fundamentals of politics. Land ownership has also become the key figure of social stratification, wherein the elites are generally the feudal lords, while the workers are labeled as peasants and slaves, often regarded as the landless people and the poor. The beginning of the 19th century marks the start of the Second Revolution, popularly known as the Industrial Revolution. As food supplies increased and living conditions improved, the population in Europe boosted the demand for goods such as textiles, and many farmers became factory workers. Cotton was primarily cultivated for textiles. During these times, cotton was labor-intensive, making slavery and child labor became widespread in Europe and US. Tools such as the spinning jenny was also invented and was one of the key developments in the industrialization of weaving during the Industrial Revolution. The introduction of steam engines as the new source of power was also one of the most important factors in the development of power-driven machines. And as the demand for coal increased, miners dug deeper into coal deposits. The Industrial Revolution was the time when many important inventions made work easier and cheaper. Establishment of factories as model of efficiency for mass production has also become common. Consequently, the Industrial Revolution made negative impacts in the environment as it concentrates population growth and generate pollution, as well as encourage imperialism due to domination of foreign lands and political interest over various resources. The third wave of technology is the most recent information revolution, or also known as the computer age. By the end of the 20th century, computer technology has changed the world. The information revolution is making a difference to millions of people, while the nation's economic success is already based on the control of ideas. This wave of technology is driven by two factors. First, the rise of dynamic new industries based on scientific breakthroughs, and second, the enhanced manipulative abilities via computers. Personal computers had become widespread in its ability to connect over local and national networks, such as Lisa, which is the first Apple computer before Macintosh. Eventually, the Internet was also developed by the US Department of Defense for security purposes, as well as utilized by scientists to communicate each other. Also, the development of fiber optic cables, and companies like Intel developed faster microprocessors for a more rapid rate of incoming signals in computers. In the late 1900s, World Wide Web was also developed for commercialization. New forms of communication were introduced, such as electronic mail, or popularly called as email, for a faster and more convenient tool for communication, and prosumer platforms and social media became rampant in the virtual world. Now, to sum it up, Technology has really molded society across history and became an essential driving force for social change.
So that's it. I hope you have learned something and enjoyed the videos at the same time. Again, this is Ian saying that scientific knowledge is a scientific power, and with great power comes great responsibility in our society. See ya!